I'm talking with Aryeh Myers, who is a paramedic with the Emergency Services of Israel, Magen David Adom. He's speaking to us from Israel now. Well, as we begin our conversation with you, swirls back and forth on what's happened as war and then potential peace and hostage releases and releases of prisoners have veered back and forth. Tell me what the mood is with you and the people you work with as this latest news has been happening this week.
So this news regarding the hostages and the possibility of the hostage deal collapsing obviously has Magen David Adom and the whole of the state of Israel really very much on edge, concerned about what might happen, whether we will see a resumption of the fighting, whether there'll be rocket attacks again into Israel. And obviously our main concern is also for the hostages themselves. We're very much hoping to see them home as soon as possible. But this talks of the deal potentially collapsing are very concerning for all of us.
Prior to this latest announcement that Hamas was not going to release hostages and therefore Israel was holding on to some of the prisoners that that government has held, the release of hostages has been very slow, it seems like, as we look at it from our part of the United States. What has been public reaction to how things have happened since mid-January when this original deal was first announced?
So again, here in Israel, the mood has been partially one of I don't want to use the word celebration, but I guess that's the closest. The fact that the hostages are being released, or some of them are being released, alongside this torturous stretching out of the whole process of us only receiving 3 hostages at a time, adding huge stress to the families and to all of us here in Israel.
What's been the public news about the condition, both mental and physical, of those who had been held in those Hamas caves for well over a year? What are we finding out about those folks as the ones who have been released are able to get back home?
So I don't have too many more details than what I'm sure you've seen on the press and in the media about the condition of the hostages who have returned. In Magen David Adom, we are obviously concerned with the health and welfare of all Israelis. That is our role here in Israel, or one of our roles is the EMS, the Emergency Medical Services. We are seeing an uptick in the number of mental health cases. And whilst the calls for those injured in conflict has obviously reduced in the last few weeks, which we are very happy about, we still have to be prepared for anything that might happen. And again, whether that means the collapse of this deal, meaning that, again, the state of Israel might face a state of ongoing war. And as Magen David Adom, as Israel's national EMS organization, we have to be prepared for that. That means we have to make sure that we have enough ambulances, enough equipment, enough members of staff. And luckily, we have some 3,500 employees, but 90% of our workforce, some 33,000 people, are volunteers in Magen David Adom who, at a moment's notice, will drop everything and come and help save lives in Israel.
We're speaking with Aryeh Myers, who is a first responder in Israel. You mentioned the amazing number of people it takes to be ready. You folks have been living kind of on a knife's edge, certainly since October a year and a half ago, but even before that. What is it like to be on the front lines in a nation that has attacks coming in from various borders on a relatively regular basis?
So one of the things that Magen David Adom has become, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, very good at, is dealing with multi-casualty and mass casualty events. And whilst obviously we weren't expecting anything the size and the scope of what happened on October 7th, 2023, we were still prepared and able to deal with the situation. We were able to treat some 1,000 patients in the first 24 hours. 350 of those were critically injured. And that's part of a process that sees Magen David Adom constantly preparing with constant drills, ongoing education, ongoing training, both for our members of staff, our volunteers, but also for members of the general public. And we ensure that the public have at least a basic level of training, those who want to come and learn. Over the last year or so, we've trained some 450,000 people in Israel, including some 15,000 as part of a unique project that sees a project called the Magen Project that sees community-based medical response teams. We provide them with training, with equipment, with communication to be able to respond immediately to any incident should it happen in their local community, even before the ambulances can get there. We have ambulances, again, spread across the nation, but it takes time for those ambulances to arrive. So if we can have responders within each individual community so they can be the first to act when something, God forbid, happens, then that gives us a much better chance of being able to save even more lives. And we saw that as part of this particular project. We saw that especially in Majd al-Shams, in the Druze village in the north of Israel, where just a few months ago a rocket struck a soccer field and 12 children were killed by a Hezbollah rocket. And the first people to respond to that were one of our EMTs and also two doctors who had undergone training with us and received equipment from us and were able to go and treat and save lives on the scene almost instantly.
Last question here for Aryeh Myers in Israel. Waiting and watching is happening now after President Trump's very public announcement that things could switch on Saturday if Hamas doesn't release the hostages that they've been holding since the October 6th attack. What are you expecting that could happen? It could be that pressure will release hostages. It could mean more warfare between your nation and your neighbors to the south. What are the options of what might happen as we move toward the weekend?
So while our role in Israeli society obviously covers EMS and also the blood services, so we are the Israel's blood bank, providing the blood for all the hospitals and for the IDF. These are the things that we're preparing for. What might happen could be anything, but that can change at a moment's notice. It's very, like you said, like on a knife's edge at the moment. And our role is to make sure that we are prepared, to make sure that the state of Israel knows that it has this backbone of resilience ready, prepared, and able to treat anyone in need, whether that's preparing by having the equipment, the ambulances, whether that's preparing to make sure we have enough blood supplies, and just making sure that we are ready to go again at a moment's notice to deploy whatever needs to happen in order to protect and to save the lives of those in Israel.
A coordinator for emergency medical services in Israel, Aryeh Myers, thank you for joining us today on Family Life.
Thank you very much. And if anybody's looking to help Magen David Adom, to support us, you can have a look at savinglivesinisrael.org to get more information from there. That's savinglivesinisrael.org. Thank you very much for hosting me.
We will link to that site as well on our news podcast page. I'm Greg Gillispie, Family Life News.